Happy to be here with all of you. So as Foti mentioned, I work with Diamond Wine Importers. So we have been importing wines from Greece for over 25 something years. And my family also is the Livanos restaurant group. So I'm actually calling in from New York City in the basement of MoB restaurant, where we have one of the largest all Greek wine lists in definitely the largest in the country, but possibly maybe in the world. I don't know. But yeah, so growing up with Greek wines has always been a part of my life. It's always been a part of something that I've been passionate about and sharing the treasures of Greece with everyone. So even though, you know, most of you, I'm guessing based on the names in the chat box and the names in the little face windows, I'm guessing most of you all are Greek here, but hopefully you could learn something new about Greek wine today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to discuss a couple different regions, producers, and wines. And again, as Ari mentioned, if you have a question, since there's so much of you, please don't unmute yourself, but you could go ahead and type it in the chat box, and I will go and do my best to answer everything as we go through it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Feel free to please take wine number 1, which is the Douloufakis Vidiano, as you'd like, and drink it at your own pace. You know, with 3 bottles of wine, hopefully you have some friends to share with, and you're not going to take it down all by yourself. But it is Friday night, 7 o'clock. You know, to each their own, right? Okay, so it's time for Greece. Again, I work with Diamond Wine Importers. We've been importing wines for over 25 years. We have about 12 wines in our portfolio, 12 wineries that we represent from each different region in Greece. And I love to show a map of Greece. And now, luckily, we're all Greeks here, so we understand how beautiful and diverse Greece is. But a lot of people don't realize just how unique the topography is and how uniquely shaped it is for producing wine. You know, there's over how many islands? There's 1,000 islands in Greece and a couple hundred that are winemaking regions. But we make wine all the way in the southern part of Greece, from Crete to the Peloponnesos, right, the peninsula here in southern Greece, all the way up to the mountains of northern Greece. I mean, what a lot of people don't realize is that our country is covered in mountains, over 75% mountains. And what's unique about that is some of the best wine regions come from these high elevation parts of Greece, where it's actually a little bit cooler climate, very unique soil types that create these fantastic wines. Another thing I like mentioning is that, you know, we've been producing wine in Greece for thousands of years. This is one of the oldest wine producing regions in the world. And we should be very proud of that as Greek Americans and Greek people. But what's especially exciting is that today, the wines using ancient grapes are finally being made with modern technology and more skilled winemaking practices. So as a result, the wines of Greece today are the best that they've ever been. And they're now starting to become very widely received, widely appreciated outside of the Greek community and beyond. So it's something that we're very proud and excited about. And this year has been one of the best years for wine sales in Greece from Greek wine. So, you know, it's pretty cool to see that our little country of about 10 million people is now finally catching up to the rest of Europe, and the wines are starting to really become sought after. Now, it's worth mentioning that in Greece, there are over 300 indigenous grapes that are grown in Greece. So that means there's unique grapes that you can't find anywhere else in the world besides Greece. So that's something that we're also very proud of. And today we're going to be exploring a few different grapes that are unique to Greece. All right. So the first place we're going to talk about is Crete. So Crete, of course, is the southernmost island in Greece, one of the biggest islands in Greece. And Crete has been producing wines for thousands of years. I don't know who's here's been to Crete. Let's everyone raise their hands if you've been to Crete, or who's from Crete, right? Couple of you guys. Yeah, Ari.
Yeah, well, half of me.
Well, this is my last trip to Crete. I loved it there, as you can see. Crete is so special. I mean, you have very lively people. You have some of the most amazing foods. This wasn't on a Friday, don't worry. But what you can see is there's such a lively type of people there. This chef was amazing. But what I love about Crete as well is that there are hundreds of grapes that are found in Crete that you don't even find in other parts of Greece. Some of the grapes, for example, for whites are Vidiano, Malvasia, Muscat of Spina, Villana. And for red, we have Liatico, Kotsifali, Mandilari. And the wine you all have in your glass today is called Vidiano. And this comes from Douloufakis Winery. So they are located in the center of Crete in the region of Heraklion, so right in the middle of the island. And what I love about this part of Greece is that you could be on an island looking out at the mountains, and behind you have like a snow-capped mountain, and then past the ocean. You have such a unique geography, topography that is well suited for producing, not just wine, but also, figs and olives and fruit trees. And there's so much lush life here in Crete. If you haven't been there, I'd highly recommend traveling because it is one of the most beautiful places I've ever visited. But now what's pretty special is the focus on the indigenous grapes of the island. So, in the 60s and 70s, a lot of wine production in Greece was predominantly focused around bulk wine production, and also with grapes that were maybe internationally popular, but not well known or well suited for the Greek environment. So a lot of winemakers were growing Cabernet Sauvignon and Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay. And that's what the bulk of wine in Crete was being made, was these international grapes. But with a couple of producers that we work with, and especially this guy, Nikos Douloufakis, he decided to focus on the indigenous grapes of his hometown. So he ended up ripping up all these vines and replanting Liatico and Vidiano, and also some Malvasia, to really focus on the Cretan grapes that make his region and his hometown so special. And as a result, you are now drinking in your glass basically an ancient grape that was once forgotten about, but it has been revitalized, rejuvenated, and it does so well in this environment. Greece is also, especially Crete, is blessed with some amazing weather. You have beautiful conditions where you don't have to use pesticides and fertilizers as much as you would in other parts of the world. So as you can see here, this is called cover crop, where they use they in the spring, and when the grapes aren't growing yet, they'll plant other plants and herbs and wildflowers as a way to reintroduce nutrients back into the soil. So they don't even use much fertilizer here at all or pesticides. It's all organic winery, which is fantastic. And Douloufakis produces a whole bunch of different types of wines, from Liatico and Vidiano. He also makes an orange amphora aged wine here, as well as a red, and Malvasia, which is a very aromatic wine. But the one you have in your glass right now is called the Daphnios Vidiano. So again, this grape here is Vidiano, the indigenous old variety of Crete. Everything done by hand, no pesticides, no fertilizer at all organic and natural. 100% stainless steel, and it's all aged in a tank. So if you all want to give the glass a little swirl, you can kind of stick your nose inside, give it a smell. Let's talk about it. What kind of flavors are we getting? And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we could all see each other while we all taste the wine.
Yeah, let's get some comments in the chat box as we're tasting together.
So you always want to smell the wine first, because you taste more with your nose than you do with your tongue. Your mouth can only taste 5 flavors. You could taste saltiness, sweetness, bitterness, acidity, and savoriness. But your nose has these olfactory glands, which allows you to taste thousands of different things. So definitely give it a good whiff, and you should be smelling different things like some stone fruit, maybe apricot, peaches. And feel free to add any comments of what you think, what you taste. There's no wrong answer when it comes to wine tasting. Maybe Foti, you want to give us a start? You want to?
As you mentioned, an abundance of fruit in the aromas, right?
Mm-hmm.
But from the texture perspective, it's really refreshing. It's got some crispness, but it also has a little bit of depth, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, this is an inviting white wine. From the aromas to the flavors and to the finish, very clean, easy to drink. I can sip on this on its own, but I can also have it with food as well.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that almost all wines in Greece, not all, but the majority of the wines in Greece are meant to be consumed with food, right? In Greece, wine is food. It's a part of the dinner table. So that's one thing that we always like to mention, is that when you're picking wines to have with your dinner, with your meal, because these wines, they don't have sugar really in them. They're pretty dry. They have great acidity. It makes food taste better. And I always use the analogy, imagine taking a fresh lemon and squeezing it over a piece of grilled fish, how it makes the food taste better. It kind of excites and wakes up your taste buds. It enhances flavor. And wine does the same thing. It kind of, it cleans your palate, resets you for that next bite, so that it helps enhance the flavor of food. And especially white wines from Crete, I think, are really great at this. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this. Maybe it's the first Cretan wine you've all had, maybe the first Vidiano you've had, but this is a very special grape. It's starting to make a lot of headway. It's starting to become more sought after in Greece as well, just because of its versatility, the way it ages. This wine ages kind of like a Chardonnay, a beautiful fruity flavor. Again, a really fun wine. I hope you all enjoyed wine number one.
And I think it's worth mentioning too, Johnny, that as we are, the seasons are changing and we are approaching Thanksgiving, and a lot of folks have asked, what wines to pair. Typically, the go-to is typically Chardonnay, but for those that are kind of thinking outside the box and considering, Vidiano, in my opinion, has a place on the dinner table for Thanksgiving.
For sure. This is a white wine with a little bit of body, so it goes well with the Thanksgiving turkey, with all the side dishes, the stuffing and all that. Or if you're like my family, I'm Greek and Italian, so we have a pasticcio and the lasagna and the turkey all together. So you need a wine that goes with everything. And
there's got to be a battle at the table when it comes to that, right?
Well, we just add another table, so.
So what do you do when the discussion of wine comes up? Because I'm gonna say you're with the Greek wine, but is there anybody in your family that fights for Italian?
No one really fights. Everyone just loves wine. Wine brings people together, and then they'll always tell me that in
the beginning,
they'll always end up saying, "Well, Sicily was basically Greece," So we're all one people. And my mom's side of the family is Sicilian, so we're all one big melting pot. And they always say "una faccia una razza." That's famous saying.
That's true, yeah.
And
so there's no fighting.
And one more last comment, Johnny, about the wines is what's important that you just mentioned is the practices. So the Philoptochos family and winery are known for farming organically, clean wines. If I'm not mistaken, very little intervention in the winemaking process. So that's very important, where people, a lot of consumers are looking for products that are sourced from organic farming, clean, no pesticides. And in Greece, if I'm not mistaken, most properties, most wineries are practicing it without really going through the hoops and challenges of getting certifications. It's just normal practice in Greece to use very minimal intervention and no chemicals in winemaking.
Yeah, exactly. And think about Greece is most of the wineries are small. They're small family-owned businesses, and to get the organic certification, it could cost up to $10,000 per vineyard, not per property, but per vineyard. So most of these people have a property of dozens of little small, tiny vineyards. And imagine that will be their entire profit of the year to get the certification to put organic on there. So they say, we don't need this certification. We're going to make the wines correctly. People will have to trust us, but that's how they do it. They don't need to, they don't want to spend that money because they can't really afford it. But at the same time, Greece has such great weather, great conditions where they're able to produce wines naturally without much intervention and still make a fantastic, delicious wine.
I think we got an interesting question for you, Johnny, in the chat box.
Oh, someone asked how many grapes are needed to make a bottle of wine. So that's a good question. I don't know exactly how many grapes. I think it's about like 2 or 3 kilos of wine, or maybe like 1 to 4 kilos of wine to make a bottle, I believe. So that's a bunch of bunches.
Right. I was told that in general, depending on the cluster and depending on the size of the grapes, it could be anywhere to like 500 plus grapes that are pressed and crushed to make a bottle of wine.
Wow.
And not only, so once you crush the grapes and take the juice, a little bit of it evaporates naturally. It's called the angel share, where because alcohol evaporates at a lower temperature than water naturally, you just slowly have a little bit of reduction. So especially as the wine ages over time, you get less and less wine. So it might be 500 grapes to make a white wine, but if you age it for 5 years or something in a barrel, it's going to be way less.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anybody else maybe want to give us a comment or any feedback on the first wine that we're tasting together? And it could be anything. Ari, Elaine?
Kathy and I are eating spanakopita that she made for me this afternoon.
Perfect.
And it does go really well with food. We're enjoying it very much. Thank you.
Perfect.
Great.
The,
All right,
only,
I'm gonna go-
the only downside to that is we don't have any of Kathy's spanakopita with us.
Sorry.
That was missing from the packages we sent out.
Excellent.
So always like this is like a picture of a classic Cretan spread. It's always good to have food with your wine. It makes the whole experience more enjoyable. So next we're going to move to the Peloponnesos. So this is the area of southern Greece, past the Corinth Canal. And then the next wine is a rosé that is actually a blend of 3 different grapes: Ayoritigo from Nemea, Moschos Philoptochos from Mantinea, and then a little bit of Syrah. So let's talk about these regions. So this comes from Domaine Skouras, which is founded by George Skouras in the 80s. He's considered one of the pioneering winemakers of Greece and gets a lot of credit for bringing high-end winemaking to the country. And then when he started, he was making wine in his garage, and it was just a hobby for him, a little side project, and ended up taking off. Because once people realized how good these wines are, people followed suit and started to really continue to change the practices of winemaking in Greece. But the Peloponnese is really home to 2 main grapes: Moschos Philoptochos, which is a white grape. Sorry for the sound. Let me just lower that. Moschos Philoptochos, which is a pink-skinned grape, but actually has white juice. So it's a white grape with a pink skin, which is unique. So it has a little bit of color if you let it sit on the skins for a little bit. And then Ayoritigo, which is the St. George grape, which is one of the most popular and widely planted red variety of Greece. So the Peloponnese is really mainly growing indigenous grapes like Moschos Philoptochos and Ayoritigo, 60% white wines and 40% red wines. All right, so this is Mantinea. This is where they grow the grape Moschos Philoptochos. So you can see very mountainous, high altitude area, which is cool. It's very, very cold actually up in the mountains. So in the summer, the grapes they don't overheat, they don't get over ripened. So it helps produce a very balanced grape. Here's another picture of Moschos Philoptochos. So you can see it's for a white grape, it has kind of a dark pink skin, but it's unique because the grape itself is actually the juice is completely clear.
Interesting.
Some more pictures here of their winery. And then I have a little video I'm going to play. This is George Skouras himself describing Moschos Philoptochos.
Moschos Philoptochos, it is my grape. I love that grape very much. It is in the center of Peloponnese. I make wine with the Moschos Philoptochos the last 20 years. Moschos Philoptochos, it is a grape variety which we can find in the center of Peloponnese, in the plateau, and there is, and for that, because of that, it's typical. At about 2,200 feet, and up there it is a cold area of Peloponnese. Imagine that the harvest comes in October. That means a lot. As this area it's a cold area, the Moschos Philoptochos preserves the aromatics. By itself, the grapes of Moschos Philoptochos, they have red skin, which is not exactly red because there are a lot of clones. So there is the Aspro Philoptochos, white Philoptochos, which is green, more green. There is the Xantho Philoptochos, which is the blonde Philoptochos, which is another grape. It's like the Gewürztraminer. There is the Mavro Philoptochos, which is the black Philoptochos. So there is a lot of different grapes, but there is color on the skin. And the wine have not color. It's unbelievable. It's like transparent. But The wine, it is always having such of beautiful aromatics based in flowers. The rose petals, the violet, the jasmine, you know, the sweet citron, all these citrusy aromas comes from the Moschos Philoptochos. It is really very, very pleasant. At the same time, Moschos Philoptochos have a very nice acidity. The Moschos
So that's Moschos Philoptochos in a nutshell. So worth mentioning and worth noting because it's such a special grape, and definitely one you should all seek and try to find that one at some point. It's really delicious. And then the red grape that's predominantly grown in this area is called Ayoritico. So we're going to talk a little bit about Ayoritico, the grape of St. George, right? So this is the St. George variety, medium-bodied red grape. Produces rose. They make rosés out of it. They make sparkling wine. They make dessert wine, and they make the red wine and rosés. So a very versatile grape. Ayoritico here. It's kind of looks like Sangiovese. Some people compare it to Sangiovese from Italy. To me, it reminds me of a Pinot Noir. And then I have another quick minute video from George Kourtis talking about Ayoritico, and then we'll talk about the rosé that you all have in your glass. And if you haven't poured it already, you go ahead and pour wine number 2. My thing is glitching. 1 second. All right, well, the video is not working, so I'll go ahead and just give you his explanation myself. So Ayoritico, again, the grape of St. George. You grow these grapes at about 3,800, about 2,000 feet up to 3,400 feet of elevation. So as a result, you have, again, a little bit cooler climate. Consider that you're in the southern part of Greece where it's very hot. You have this colder climate up in the mountains. So the grapes ripen and mature very slowly. That preserves the flavor, the aromatics, gives you some spice notes. It's really fantastic. So I love Ayoritico, and you should definitely seek them out. But since we couldn't give you 5 wines today, we gave you wine that has Moschos Philoptochos and Ayoritico blended together in it. So this is the Peplo Rosé. Now, Peplo in Greek, it means veil, like a crown. This is one of the newest wines from Domaine Skouras. And we're really happy to show this wine because it's so unique. You have 3 different grapes, and each grape is aged in a different way. So you have the Syrah that is being aged in acacia barrels, which is similar to oak, which is another type of wood. You have the Moschos Philoptochos being aged in amphora barrels. Amphora, so that's like an ancient winemaking practice, like a clay vase. And then you have the Ayoritico being aged in stainless steel. So the Ayoritico and the Syrah are going to give the wine the color. And then the Moschos Philoptochos blended in there is going to give the wine some aromatics and freshness. So if you'd like, you could go ahead and give this wine a swirl, smell it, put it in your mouth, taste it. I mean, this is such a fun rosé. This is, to me, a year-round rosé. You have some barrel age on there, so it's not like only for the summertime. It has a little bit of depth to it. And right now, we just launched this wine in the United States. It's very hard to find here in the US. But in Greece, it is one of the hottest wines right now. Every beach bar in Mykonos is pouring this, like triple magnums. And so people are really loving this wine, but we're really excited to have it here because most of it is drunk in Greece and only a little bit actually gets out here. So I'm gonna again stop sharing my screen so we could talk about the wine together.
Wow. Johnny, a lot of rosé in general is produced in Greece, just as a part of the wine culture.
Mm-hmm.
And the rosé has been a growing category for the last handful of years, maybe plus years here in the US. Rosé was always thought to be a wine that signified sweetness. It was a sweet wine for different reasons that we're not going to get into. But dry rosés have become more and more popular on wine lists at wine bars, at restaurants, at your local retail shop. But this particular rosé really, took me by surprise because I've had a bunch of rosés made from that grape Ayoritico that were a little more darker, deeper, and richer. But the combination of Ayoritico red grape, Moschos Philoptochos a white grape, or Pinot Gris, and then you have the addition of the Syrah. Like this combination was just brilliant. The fact that it has good aromas, it's got good textures, the acidity is right there. It's almost like drinking a white wine, but it's red because of the red grapes, right?
Exactly. That's what's cool about it. And the barrel age there too adds some depth and dimension. You don't often find a rosé that has some part of it aged in barrels. So only 30% of the wine has oak. So it's very light and subtle, but it still adds a little extra dimension, some beautiful flavor to the wine. I think it makes it just so versatile, great food wine, a winter rosé. Again, another Thanksgiving holiday option for sure.
This would give any French rosé a run for its money, in my
for sure, and especially for the price point too.
Yes.
So what another thing to mention? So the Moscow Filero, if you smell the wine, you can smell these like really beautiful aromas. I mean, those little floral, fruity aromas, that's from the Moscow Filero. But in the body, the strawberry fruit notes, those cherry notes, that's from the other red grapes. So altogether, each grape plays a part in this blend. And it's fun, it's a really unique style. And it does remind me of Provence, like French style rosés, because in Provence, they blend Grenache and Syrah, and they have a dozen different grapes. Right. And here, it's a similar blend. It kind of takes from that Provence style of blending, but using the Greek grapes in the mix, which makes it just very unique and fun.
Any thoughts or comments from our guests as they're sipping on this delicious rosé? Any likes, dislikes, comments? Are there rosé fans in the crowd tonight? I know Ari likes rosé.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Great. Should I continue on to the next?
Absolutely.
Sure.
All right, let's go on to the north. Northern Greece, one of my favorite parts of the wine world. So here we go. Okay, so now we're moving up to the northern part of Greece. We're going to have the Xinomavro from Kyriani estate. So Xinomavro is one of my favorite grapes. In Greece, it means acid black. So Xino means acid or acidic. Mavro is the word for the color black. So it's a very acidic, tart, and dark-skinned grape. And it's believed to be the long-lost cousin of Nebbiolo. So there is some similarities from this wine as in wines from northern Italy, from the Nebbiolo grape. And typically, you're going to be tasting this wine. It's going to give tannic, high acidity, earthy qualities to it. Great, again, another red wine that's great for food. This is the kind of wine I want to have with lamb chops or uvetsi or things like that. So Kyriani is one of the longest, comes from one of the longest winemaking families in Greece, the Boutari family. They've been making wine in Greece for 200 years almost, since the 1870s. So this is Yanni Boutari. They're the wineries named after. Yanni Boutari and his son Stelios, they built their own winery in 1997 to create their own estate, separate from the other part of the family, and really trying to focus on bringing quality wine back to the region of Nausa, where they're from. And today it's run by Stelios Boutari on the left. And again, these guys are getting a lot of credit for being pioneers of high quality modern winemaking in Greece. And what I love about Nausa, this part of Greece, is you're up in the mountains. It is very beautiful up there, very lush green landscape. My family comes from the island of Lesbos, where it's like in the summertime, it's very dry and rocky and arid. But in northern Greece, it's very lush, alive. It's so green and vibrant. I mean, these views are fantastic. So I have this little descriptor here. Basically, you have two main regions in the north, Amidion, which is where Alpha Estate comes from, a little bit cooler climate, and then Nausa, which is the wine we're drinking today, where it's cooler, but also Mediterranean. You have the Aegean Sea on the west, but also the mountains, the Mount Vermion, which kind of provides a little bit of a cooling factor. So it's not as hot as other parts of Greece. But high elevation, again, produces really delicious aromatic styles of wine. Again, everything's done by hand. You can see at every vintage, every harvest, they have farmers coming from all over the country to help pick the grapes. Rolling hills just surround the landscape. It's so beautiful over there. So again, the main grape they grow here is Xinomavro. So it's very important to know this variety. It's one of the oldest red grapes in Greece. And the region of Nausa, where this grape is indigenous to, is the first appellation in Greece to get the status. Basically, it's the first area in Greece to be considered like a destination for producing wine, which they have a lot of pride about. Beautiful rock, beautiful hills that just completely surround this area where the winery is located, Kyriani Estate. So this is an aerial view of their winery right there on the top of the hill. You can see these about a dozen or so different parcels of land. So each vineyard has a different soil type, has a different exposure to the sun, which creates different types of varieties of wine in just one little estate. So the wine we're tasting today is the Kyriani Nausa Cuvée Village. So it's a blend of Xino Mavro from different vineyards. So he's taking some from each of these little parcels of land to produce a cuvée or a blend of different types of Xino Mavro. The soil type there is pretty sandy, which gives you this very beautiful characteristics in the wine. It spends about 12 months in both American and French oak barrels, so you have a little bit of an oaky presence on there. But if you want to go ahead and give the wine a swirl and smell the wine, you can see how much aromas it has in the nose. It's pretty full-bodied. I mean, it has some earthy notes. To me, I always smell a little bit of sour red cherries. Sometimes I smell a little bit of spice, leather, tobacco. I mean, it's a very great, full-bodied, earthy kind of style of wine. But at the same time, it's not overly heavy, right? It still is like a very light color compared to some other red wines that you might be used to trying. A little bit of oak, but not overly done. You know, it's very well balanced, which to me is important when you're making a wine that's meant to be with food. You want everything to be well integrated and balanced. And balanced is a key word that a lot of winemakers seek when producing wines.
Absolutely. I like to use the word for this wine, Johnny, precise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, when I mean precise, I mean what Johnny just mentioned, all those elements from the aromas to the flavors and textures and to the finish. Like, you know, that's the goal for every winemaker, is how to create that balance. And in this Cuvée Village, it's got all the elements in place. And you mentioned that, you know, it's reminiscent of Italian wines from the north.
Yeah.
Nebbiolo, right? For those of us that enjoy Italian wines, this, I think, or wines from this region definitely are up your alley if you enjoy wines of this style.
Definitely. And yeah, I find that it's, what I love about it is like making those comparisons. Sometimes you want to not do it because you want the wine to stand on its own. But to me, the comparisons are they're so fun to make, especially because, you know, now it's up in the northern part of Greece, the most northern part of Greece, and then Nebbiolo in the north of Italy. It's very similar landscape. You have these mountains, you have this rolling kind of hills. So to me, it's fun to make these comparisons together. But again, I hope you all enjoyed this wine. Let me stop sharing the screen and we could talk about it together. I have a couple people messaging me. They love this red. They'd love the oak presence here. Someone asked, how are vineyards watered and how often? It depends where they are growing. So some wineries don't have any irrigation at all. They rely entirely on Mother Nature to do that for them.
Is Santorini one of those?
Yeah, in Santorini, there's no water on the island at all to use for farming. I mean, they have to rely on nature, and it doesn't rain there either. So the wines receive very, very little water. And here, it's very minimal watering is done. In northern Greece, they have a little bit of rainfall in the spring and then the early summer, so they have a little bit of water there already. So they don't need to add too much water to it. But you know, other parts of Greece, you might have a little bit of irrigation. But at the same time, water is something you don't always want to overwater grapes because it just dilutes the flavor. It takes away. So they do a little bit of irrigation here, but really not much. It's all about letting the Mother Nature do its thing. We have people from Portsmouth. They say the Nausa is their favorite. Love to hear it. Yeah. So again, with wines together, it's always fun to taste them with friends, taste them with family, have them with food, and keep trying new things. And you know, with wines of Greece, you can never really have the same wine twice. wine is always, first of all, it's always changing. So even if it's the same bottle, it's going to taste different one day to the next. But it's also worth noting that, maybe 20 years ago, there was only a couple hundred wineries in Greece. And now there's over 1,500. So the wine industry in Greece is booming. There's a lot of new producers working with old indigenous grapes. So a tremendous amount of diversity, a lot to explore, a lot to see and do. So I encourage you all to keep on trying Greek wines and explore the different regions of Greece. We only saw 3 today, Nausa, Peloponnesos, and Crete. But definitely try finding wines from Santorini. The wines from Attica are fantastic. Wines from Amidion in the north, Thessaly. So there's so many wines to try.
And thanks to your efforts into Diamond Wine Importers, I think you are at the forefront of bringing Greece's finest to us here in the U.S. because, and I speak for myself, but I'm sure many can share the same thoughts. It's always been a challenge to find good Greek wine in any market that you are. If you visit any retail shop, if you ask them for, I'm looking for Greek wine, and for over the years, Greek wine has either been pushed in the back of a room, it's been pushed in the corner somewhere, or it's been included in just the other section, right? In most retail shops. And now we're starting to see more and more retailers that are actually taking more of an effort to showcase some of these fantastic wines that are coming to the market. And it's been a challenge over the years because of different reasons, but now we have the ability today, because of efforts like Diamond Wine Importers, that we're having exceptional wines brought to us that we can actually enjoy as we are having tonight.
Exactly.
And we also want to mention that with our efforts, we take a step further, that on our platforms, Greek Wine Club and Greekazon, is that through Diamond Wine Importers, we're able to feature and showcase all these wonderful wines on our app and our website as well.
And it's been fun to see this growth and journey, and also the growth and interest in wines from Greece. And a lot of it has to do with just people being more adventurous and exploring and trying things. It also has to do with the fact that the wineries in Greece have gotten better. And, as a result of us working with some of these pioneering producers that encourage other wineries to step up their game and to make wine at similar or better levels that other countries are doing, but using the indigenous grapes of Greece. So it's that beautiful marriage of modern winemaking practices, but using the old indigenous ancient grapes of Greece. That's what's making the wine so special. And also, now Greek food is rising. There's better Greek restaurants opening up using Greek wine. And as a result, I think just these wines are getting out there. People are trying it. People are visiting Greece more than ever. Other Americans or tourists are traveling in Greece, and they fall in love with the wines and come back trying to seek them out. So as a result, all those things together, and now we have great platforms like Greekazon and Greek Wine Club as well to help make it easier for people to find these wines. All together, it's a great combination. And you all should have any hard times finding these wines now. So we really hope you enjoyed today's seminar and these wines. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm going to type my email in the chat box. I love giving wine recommendations or travel ideas when people are going to Greece. So
yeah, so Johnny, that's a good point that you just mentioned. So for any of our guests that might be traveling to Greece soon, or whether it's in the summertime, some of these wineries do offer tours, I'm assuming. So if anyone is interested, Johnny just left his email. You can always get in touch with him if you ever wanted to maybe possibly have an appointment or visit any of these wineries. The wine tours today in Greece are off the charts. The combination of actually being there is a whole different experience, combined with the efforts of having lunch or dinner at some of the neighboring restaurants, is beyond any expectation that we've seen elsewhere. So yes, definitely reach out to Johnny.
Thank you.
One quick question just came in, if you guys want to answer that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think is the most exciting wine trend coming out of Greece right now? Ooh.
So trend-wise, Johnny, we can, take our individual stabs at that, but you can go first.
Yeah. So one of the most exciting trends I think coming out of Greece is this minimal intervention winemaking. You're seeing a lot of winemakers that are working with just Mother Nature, and we work with some producers too that they allow the grape to speak for themselves, and that's a trend in the wine world all over the world, where you're maybe using indigenous yeasts that are natural to the environment, or not using pesticides, not using a little bit of sulfites, things like that that are meant to make the wine taste a certain way. But winemakers now in Greece are really letting the grape do the work itself. And you're getting now, as a result, very diverse, unique, very flavorful wines that are quite different than anything else I've ever tasted. And there's a lot more of that coming from Greece. And hopefully we'll be importing more wines like that soon. But that to me has been really fun.
And if I can add, as far as trends go, Johnny, to Irene's question, is that orange wine has been a trend in general. I'm not sure if you've heard the topic orange wine, but orange wines are not made from oranges. They're basically white wines that have been produced in a fashion that's been ancient for so many hundreds of years, that it's wines made from white grapes. They leave the skins in during fermentation, and they produce this very unique, striking wine that has dark colors, dark in hues. They have very rich textures. It's almost drinking red wine, but it's white. And
Exactly.
that's a growing trend that's happening all over the world. But Greece is actually jumping on that because they have grapes that actually can produce very good quality orange wine. And we have actually a couple in our platform. One happens to be from Philoptochos that's on our platform. That's very rare and unique, but that's a growing trend, orange wine. So I'm sure you might have heard the term before, or you might come across it, but it's basically natural wine with nothing going on in it other than the natural yeast and the grape itself, right, Johnny?
Exactly, for
Yeah.
sure.
So that's another trend that I like to mention.
Another good question. Does anyone drink Retsina anymore?
Yes.
So
Well,
Retsina-
wasn't the battle that you guys had as wine people to break Greece out of the being known for just Retsina? It's like
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
in
no,
America, in our culture, it's like everybody's like, oh yeah, Greek wine, Retsina. It's like, yeah, but there's so much more.
exactly. So I feel like a lot of people's first experience with Greek wine was Retsina. And as a result, many people thought all Greek wine is Retsina. But Retsina is really just a small part of what they do. And I always consider Retsina, it's not really wine. It's an aromatized wine. I compare it more to vermouth than wine, because you're using the addition of pine resin. There's actual resin being thrown in there, which gives that piney flavor. But people do make Retsina. There are some really good Retsinas out there. With this increase in wanting to make quality wine, people are actually using quality resin now, and they're not just using like flavoring agents and things like that. And a lot of times people would just take like essential oil of the pine and use bad wine to just cover the flavors with it. So Retsina wasn't always that great, but now you see some really nice ones out there. So yeah, I have nothing against Retsina. I think there's some good ones out there, but most of it is really just meant to be like easy drinking, cheap wine.
I feel like there's going to be some Greek quote unquote hipsters that are going to try to reboot Retsina to the.
There already are. There's some like this orange wine Retsina right out there with like sediment in the bottle of the bottle, and it's like all cool.
I love it.
Yeah, like $50 a bottle.
Yeah, just
that's
jack
not
the price
that's not
up.
my
and
grandpa's
everybody-
Retsina. That's not my papu's Retsina.
I'd rather have your papoose Retsina any day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's that's a very good comment that you made, or reference, Ari, that as Greeks in the industry, Retsina unfortunately has been a very big obstacle, but I think we've overcome that lately, because thanks to places like Santorini, who actually have put us in the forefront of being serious producers that actually can compare to any serious region of the world. We've been actually given some respect, if that's the term that we can use, as far as worldwide producers. So yes, we're very proud that we're bringing wine to market that can stand up to any region of the world that makes quality, if that's a way to put it.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So let's you wanna let me ask Elaine, Athena, do you guys want to open up just some dialogue? You guys could
I
unmute
think there's
yourselves.
one more question there, Ari, from Kathy.
Oh yeah.
Noticed in the chat.
Tell me about Vinsanto from Santorini.
Vinsanto. So Vinsanto is the dessert wine from Santorini. It's the wine, vino, like a wine of Santorini. It's a dessert wine that's been made there for thousands of years. The name actually comes from the Venetians that settled in Santorini. So they would call it the Vinsanto, the wine of Santorini. And that's why in Italy, you do see Vinsanto is produced there. But by law, as of like a few years ago, Vinsanto must be called Vinsanto if it's from Santorini. So Santorini beat the Italians in that war, which is fun. But Vinsanto is made from Assyrtiko, and also could be blended with two other grapes, the Santorini grapes of Itheri and Idani. But after they harvest the grapes, they put them on these straw mats and leave them out in the sun. Basically turns the grapes into raisins, and as a result, it concentrates the juice and the sugars. And then they crush the grapes, put them in these very small barrels, and they age them for years and years and years, like 6, 7, 8 years. And it produces this very rich, sweet, bright wine made from white grapes, but it has like almost like this brown color, super concentrated. One of the most amazing things, you know, Foti mentioned a normal bottle takes 500 grapes to make a bottle of wine, but when you're making a dessert wine and you just can't put them in the sun and there's like no juice, you probably have at least 3,000 grapes to make one bottle of wine. So just very concentrated flavor, naturally sweet, but with bright acidity. And these are wines that could age forever. I had one once from the 80s, and it was drinking so well. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever had. So Vinsanto is fun. Definitely seek them out. They're pretty rare and hard to find. I think Foti might have some available in the store, right?
Yes, we do. Upon request, because
Yeah.
they're so rare. But yes, we definitely have access to them.
Yeah, they're fun. I mean, it's one. I think that's the kind of thing. When I don't have kids yet, but when I do have one, I'm gonna like get their birth year, Vinsanto, and like save it until they're like 21 and give it to them.
I thought you were gonna say I don't have kids yet, but when I do, I'm gonna give them Vinsanto.
Yeah, when they're 21.
Okay. Unless you're in Greece, it could be a little younger.
Yeah, 18. Put the wine of the Holy Spirit on them.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so as I said before, are you guys okay with opening up microphones if you guys want to chat a little bit? Maybe ask.
Yeah, or maybe before any last minute comments from Athena.
Yeah, if you didn't want to go through the whole trouble of typing in the comment, we could open up the mics and you could just ask. So if you guys want,
I just wanted to thank all our sponsors.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and thank our
You want me
sponsor
to
chair
share?
Diane Stamatopoulos and our co-chair Deb Sejak and our social media chair Irene Stefanakos and our president Athena Kalyvas, and also thank Foti, Ari, and Johnny. And I'll tell you, Johnny is very nice looking, but so isn't Foti and Ari. So
We don't
Thank
tell
you.
them we paid you to say that.
thank you so much.
All
No, our
right.
pleasure.
Showing is a list of the donors. So if you guys want to.
And Irene is posting it on the Philoptochos website, on the Metropolis of Boston website.
Excellent.
Too. So
Great.
thank you.
All righty. So now, if you guys would like, we're just gonna, whoever would like can unmute themselves, and we could just have a little bit of a chat. And any questions or any comments, anything you guys want to mention, anything you guys want to say, anybody you want to say hi to?
I just want to thank everyone that participated and everyone that donated so generously to this event. It's nice to see everyone on a Friday night too. Near and far.
Yeah, you know, up here where we are, unfortunately, the weather wasn't the best weather to go out to an
No,
event.
that's
So
not.
the fact that we're all together during these times of weather and bring us close, I think is very nice. Obviously, we'd love to at some point soon have events that we're in person together, but
Mhm.
you know, thankfully that technology has allowed us to do this for now.
The problem is that I'm getting so used to this virtual stuff. I'm just going to be too lazy to actually go out anymore. So I'm going to stick to the virtual. I have my pajama bottoms on right now. It's perfect.
Cheers.
Cheers to everybody here. And we appreciate everything and all the support. And we hope you really did find this informative, entertaining. Johnny, I mean, this guy, I've been part of probably like 10, maybe 15 webinars with him about Greek wine, and I learned something new every single time. So Johnny, thank you so much for all the knowledge you bring.
My pleasure.
Not to mention that nice, handsome face, and the people say we look alike. That's why I'm calling you handsome.
We all
Except-
look alike.
We're definitely long lost cousins.
The Ventus.
He has the better lush hair than I do. So, but yeah, these were great wines, and there's so much more out there. And if you guys follow anything we do, and all the past webinars we've done, Foti and I with Johnny, you'll learn about a lot of great stuff that's coming out of Greece. I mean, it's just amazing to me, because these are the wine guys, but you know, I'm part of the group, but I'm not really the wine guy. So I just get to drink and learn about it, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
And Fati, if we wanted more bottles of any one of these particular wines, how do we get them?
You can visit our platform, which is a couple of them. There's what's called, I'm sure in your packages, we put this nice little addition of a packing tape that had the Greek keys on it, right? Called Greekazon. So Greekazon.com is one of our platforms where we actually have all things Greek that's on it: wines, Greek foods from Greece, accessories, anything you can imagine. But it's on Greekazon.com. But then our dedicated platform for Greek wines is called GreekWineClub.co. We couldn't find the .com because it was taken, but .co is there as well. Ari obviously is going to actually list it in the chat box. But we constantly update our platforms with any new products that are coming in. We ship all over the country. And we also have options for those that might want to send loved ones gifts from our platforms. We're also available for anyone that was was with us tonight, that we are open to always participating or using our services for other fundraisers, other initiatives, or even private events. Maybe this whole experience, we can bring it to your home, or for your business, or for anything that you want to do. That, we're always available. We're always thinking outside the box. We're trying to bring ourselves together through technology. Our culture is so rich, and we want to keep it going because we have so much to offer between the food, the wine, and probably our history as well. But, please reach out to us with any thoughts, comments, or feedback. We're always willing to listen, because you just never know what happens from one event to the other. And then if, again, we're mics are open, we'd love to, as Greeks, we love to talk. So we obviously want to hear from anyone else that's out there that might want to say a few words, or anything that they might want to mention.
Portsmouth mentioned, thank you for a wonderful evening. Great job. Thank you, Portsmouth, for being part of all this. We appreciate you.
We also want to thank the folks that are in Rhode Island, and
Don't
also
forget
the folks that are
Cranston.
in
Cranston.
Connecticut as well. We got folks that were in Connecticut. And if I'm not mistaken, we also had folks in New York that also participated with this event.
Yeah, the host,
Wow.
Johnny.
Well, outside of Johnny.
Oh, okay.
Outside of Johnny.
Go ahead, Demetrios, talk.
We don't have any questions.
Who's is somebody talking?
Okay, I have a question.
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
First of all, do you import any wines from Aido Estates in Santorini?
Ari Estates, I think, is a different importer that is out of New York, but I think we can source it if we make some phone calls.
Okay, they had a lot of nice wine from there, so that's,
Were you able to visit them when you were in Greece by any chance?
they have a great estate. Looks like you're in California. Looks like you're in wine country. It's beautiful over there.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the island is so small, but being that it's so small, there's so many amazing places on the island that are producing wine. It's just, I mean, if you haven't been there, it's one thing to say, but it's one thing to be there and see it for yourself.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Demetrios at Annunciation. We're having a great time here. I just want to thank you for having the
Thank you. No, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. I had the pleasure of personally driving down to Cranston, Rhode Island.
I'm sorry, but
And no, I enjoyed the fact that, growing up in Boston and, as a Greek American, being part of different initiatives, Goya, the ground, the church was beautiful, your center was beautiful.
thank you very much.
Sorry. No. We were looking up GreekWineClub.com. Did I get that right?
Well, you know what? It's .co. Ari just wasn't fast enough to get the .com.
I got lazy. I didn't want to type that extra M, so we just did the
It's
CO.
.co, unfortunately.
Greek wine is delivered, right?
Or
Yeah.
Greek wines, or actually GreekWinesDelivered.com. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
We don't want to confuse you guys. We have like 1,000 domain names, so.
But it just goes to show us that as Greeks and Greek Americans across, Ari and I had to have the pleasure of connecting with so many different organizations, and it's amazing to see the support factor that still exists today.
One other quick question for you guys. You said
Yes.
you import a lot of stuff. Do you guys available to bring in mastika as well? We've been having a hard time getting it over here in Western Mass.
So if you actually, yes, we do have actually two different mastikas on our platform. One is actually produced by a local Greek American who's a friend of ours. She's from Boston. Her brand's called Kleos. Amazing product. It's on our platform. And then we have a couple others, actually, other mastikas from Skinos and Roots that are also available. So if you go to Greekazon or GreekWineClub.co, there's 3 different options for mastika.
All right, great. That's
We used Clio at an event we did, a Philoptochos event that we did in the last one we did in 2019. And
Oh, wow.
Clio's, it's a sampling. I think many ladies enjoyed her mastika. It was
Yes.
a big hit.
We're
Big hit.
we're big supporters and advocates. If you enjoy mastika for its different reasons, this product is definitely worth.
Very good.
Yes, absolutely. Any other thoughts or comments?
Any other hellos? We need to go, but we enjoyed it very much. Thank you to the presenters and to Athena and entire Metropolis Philoptochos. Bravo, Kalinichta. Thank you, George.
We also
Papa
want to
Demetrios.
thank Father Ted. I noticed that Father Ted was joining us this evening as well.
He had to jump onto another call. I asked him, but if he wanted to say a few words, but he said it was a great program and congrats. So
Excellent. Again, we'd love to at some point sooner than later host another event for you, whether it's here or in person. We also send out a nice monthly newsletter that's called A Piece of Greece that has everything that we're tied to, whether it's food, wine, events, philanthropy,
music, up and coming artists. We feature everything. And Johnny has an article. Foti has an article. And there's a lot of good information in there. If you guys are interested in getting a piece of Greece, just sign up on any of our platforms and we'll send it out to you. Always good, informative stuff.
Excellent. And I think the fundraising initiatives here were just amazing. We're so pleased to see the support and the abilities that we brought together collectively through this platform to make this a success.
And you mentioned before, Foti, that you could bring this to people's homes. I'm your partner, so I don't want to like say anything bad, but I don't think anybody really wants you in their homes. So the virtual stuff is good. So
Yes,
we
exactly.
can just stick with
For the
that.
delivery.
Excellent.
Well,
All
thank you,
right.
thank you to everyone, the people that attended, and to our supporters. And thank you, Foti, Ari, and Johnny. We love seeing you, and we want to see you again. And hopefully the next time we'll be in person. So God bless you, and the Metropolis Philoptochos thanks you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Our
you, everybody.
pleasure.
Thanks, everybody out there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Johnny, again. Thank you, Foti. Thank you, everybody in the Philoptochos. Thanks, everybody who supported, everybody who signed in. And we will say goodnight. Please finish those wines.
We will. Don't worry.
All right.
Happy
Bye.
Thanksgiving to
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Yeah, have a happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, happy holidays, and we'll see you guys next time. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Night.
Thank you.
Bye.